All right. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to this workshop of the City Council of Fort Walton Beach, Florida. We've now called this meeting to order, so we will begin with a discussion, which will be first led by our brand new city manager, Mr. Davis.
All right. So this presentation tonight, you have, the directors are going to speak to what they feel are the most pressing capital projects for next year. We've been working behind the scenes on the budget, so unfortunately Nicole's been stuck with me working on just the salary portion. We're good to go there. We're under the 3%. Not ready to talk millage tonight, so we're way too soon in the game on that, but we should be able to circle back with that shortly. But tonight is really just to drive council's direction on some of the capital projects, and then at the end, I started putting together some strategic planning. So your first victim is Daniel. Other questions or comments, we'll turn it over.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Payne.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. I'm going to lead off with Public Works Utility Services for this budget discussion. Just a little bit of background before we get going. Public Works Utility Services consists of solid waste, water, sewer, streets, stormwater, GIS, fleet, facilities. Just so it's a question we get all the time. Hey, do you do this? That's all those services on that side. Here's our mission statement on that end. I think you could read these words. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but basically, as you can imagine, I think the core mission is to provide everybody safe, clean drinking water at an affordable rate, keep sewer off the ground, right, and then pick up solid waste and recycling in effective management, as well as water quality, stormwater. And I'd like to kind of highlight that last one, provide a safe and reliable transportation network, because that is something I think over the years, especially over the last 5, has gone maybe from a distant 5th to leading the race in number 1, maybe, from the stuff that we have. We're in an ever-evolving department. We change with the times, and that's one of the things that has definitely been a different topic on that side from when we first started. Just real quick picture. I think this probably sums up an annual good snapshot of what we had. You have top left corner. You have Ferry Park pickleball courts, very forward-facing. Parks driven, lots of good pictures, lots of things, stuff that you can actually see on the ground, right? You can see that, take pictures of it, play it, people use it. And then you see on the right is something probably no one ever knows about, is roughly about a 80-foot stormwater repair that we had that if we didn't hit it in the right time, probably would have flooded the entire west side of the city. 2 different things. One gets a lot of pub, the other doesn't, and that's just the nature of the infrastructure game that we have. And you can see water tower, lift station, kind of the same things that we have, sidewalk, and we have a residential truck right there. Prior year accomplishments that we have going on, these are a few things that we've had. I mean, there's larger things you're trying to pick and go through, but we are like hovering at 95% on our water meter replacement. That was something that we've seen go on. I think everybody's probably got emails about every one of these things on here, if you can remember the items. Water tank asset management, we have a new 5-year program? I think it's a 10-year program that we have for maintenance on all our tanks. Recycling relationship with waste management has gone pretty well. I think we're starting to see the dividends on that end. I can say, straight face why we have the lowest contamination rate in the county so far that they're seeing on that side. Now, what's that a part of? Is that just behavior of residents? It's everything. It's education.
it's behaviors, it's enforcement, it's everything else, and some of those dividends come back, so that's why you're able to see the lowest rate that we have, that you see coming back to you guys versus other providers and within the county that you see. The Brooks Bridge utility infrastructure we have, it's another thing that's ongoing. We hope to wrap that up here by September, so those large-scale stuffs will be done, and we'll be, getting our reimbursement back for DOT for a portion of that. City lift stations that we have going on, that's 4 stations that we've had, 3 brand new and 1 replacement. It's probably the largest sewer infrastructure investment in the city that we've seen in decades on that side that everybody's been a part of. We have Freedom Beacon, 1 on Brook Street, we have 2 on Brook Street actually, and then a replacement of 22 on Beale in Alabama. Transportation neighborhood traffic improvements program, we had started that, having the neighborhood meetings, and then this year we introduced a funding mechanism to buy some of those things that we can instead of just, trying to absorb them in a regular budget. Moving forward into next year, this is kind of, the shopping list, wish list, bare minimum list, whatever you'd like to call it on that side. I don't want to go down each and every one, but obviously, if you guys would like to, we definitely can answer questions on that one. I think, some of the highlights of these bigger ones are Hollywood Boulevard. We were the victim of a governor's veto line there at the end for some money for that, but the full amount that we feel like it would be is budgeted right there. We have a public meeting scheduled for August, I do believe, 26th. As council members, you will get an individual email from our consultant putting it out, so you get kind of like a first glance before we have questions and stuff coming in. Street resurfacing, we have almost doubled. We run some metrics on that, and basically to come back through and pave and to keep up every street in the city that we haven't touched in the last 10 years over a 10-year period. It's roughly around $1 million is what we're coming in through, plus or minus. That's a change in the previous years. Pump Station 2 Force Main, another one of those bore and sewer projects, right? That line over there on the golf course has broke twice, both in inopportune times, and both resulted in a sanitary sewer overflow into Bass Lake on that side. One receiving fines from DEP, the other, they probably just haven't got around to sending us yet. So that line, even though it's not all old, has a corrosive portion in it that we are going to replace on that side.
Yes. I was trying to get to the end and then fire them off, and I don't know, they can just click back to that slide too. I know. Yeah.
Sure. Long-term goals. We took this from Jason on this side. I think it really didn't have to edit much of it, but I think these are all pretty true to form on that side. Redundancy and backup is a big deal that we have to have, and that's stuff you see, is in our water and sewer network on that side. We do like to be proactive versus reactive. We see that in the utility world. I think that's one of the reasons why you don't have sanitary sewer overflows. And Jason can probably tell you, in St. Lucie, how many did you have?
Yeah, there's probably there, substantially more south because of the direct bores.
Future challenges we're facing right now. We're not immune to any others. Environmental regs, unfunded state and federal mandates, we get those, and then we're asked to, per statute, make them happen, right? And increase testing with no funding other than we have to absorb or find a way for rate holders and stuff to handle that. PFAS and PFAS and PFOS, lead and copper, new roles, cross connection, those type of things we get hit on, and our compliance is ever going. Talent shortage and workforce development, it's the same thing. I don't think it's unique to the department. It's a bunch of places. It's just for whatever reason, construction work is, you know, we don't see that future generation doing that much of it. For whatever reason, robots and things like that are maybe cooler at a point in time, so we feel the brunt of that. Facility replacement, you know, it's not anything we haven't talked or kicked around here before. Specifically, you know, this campus, we'll call it here with the City Hall Annex and Auditorium. Hopefully, we can get the wheels kicked and moving on that. Aging infrastructure, that's, you know, a nationwide deal. We have assets at the end of their lives and stuff that we, you know, are constantly trying to replace with things that have basically grown over it: roads, neighborhoods, utilities, and other stuff, making it more difficult by the day. And then other challenges, we're not immune to the bureaucratic red tape, federal government things, permitting, natural disasters. As all of y'all know, the telecommunication industry kept us going as far as busy on that side. Managing public expectations, and I'll add on there seasonal traffic on that side. But having said that, that's where we are moving into this new budget cycle. And I think if you want to do questions, you can do them at the end. Or
I'll just do them with each director, I think, if that's all right. I did want to just briefly say as well before we get into this, you know, the purpose of this meeting is at least just supposed to be that we're all council members, we all represent the 20,000+ people that live here in the city, that work here in the city, that own businesses and that visit. So as a representative of those people, your priorities are their priorities, right? Whatever things that they've said are important to you, these are the opportunities in these kind of meetings where you have to make those big sweeping statements. Hey, I hear from people all the time, years ago, Councilman Schmidt, myself, and others, sidewalks are wanted in neighborhoods. You know, we brought this issue to Mr. Payne, and Mr. Payne has put crazy amounts of sidewalks all over our city. Speeding in neighborhoods used to be a massive thing that we would hear about as a council all the time. We brought that to Mr. Payne in one of these meetings. What can we do to address this? We've had neighborhood traffic studies. We've had speed feedback signs, which have gone up all over the city, and they're doing their job. So rather than get caught up in the minutia of like, hey, what's going on with that memorial sidewalk deal right there, you just got a complaint. Let's talk about those big picture things that we want to include in this budget that's upcoming, so we can guide all the directors and the city manager into what your constituents want from them. So we'll just do the same style. We'll go down the line. Mr. Browning. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to give a big speech and then put you on the spot.
I wasn't ready.
That's right.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
I have to know where it's Mr. Barry.
Oh, yes, I get a lot sidewalks on Memorial. I think we're on our third contractor now. Second, okay. And I offered grants from the TPO and others. There's a lot of money out there you have to. And I was just at a meeting, where were you, Mr. Walker? The other day, the Walton, Okaloosa, Santa Rosa Regional Utility Authority. There's, man, the people there, they were writing it down, the grants that are available. You know, but we have to ask, but I know you guys don't like to report on the grants and all that, but we're in a budget crunch right here. I think you know that. And we need things, we have enough parks and recreation. We have beautiful parks and recreation, except for Kenwood Park, and I'll come on that later. But we need infrastructure. We have the potholes. We need to finish the sidewalks. What can we do to help you? The stormwater drainage over on Martise and Bishop, and on and on. I'm getting phone calls, face to face, and saying, we need help. What can we do? What can I do? What can we do here to help you?
Well, I think You know, I think keeping those residents, sometimes we don't hear about, right? But
We saw you, remember on Martisa?
yeah, right. So I think, you know, they're your elected body. If there is things, obviously we only know of the hot topic things, and obviously we know the pending disaster stuff ranks always high on my end, but maybe there's other things that we don't know. So if it's relayed to you as the group and you get with Jason, I know there's at least 3 or 4 things I think that a city manager has talked about that has been relayed to him that were things that, you know, for whatever reason we either, say forgot about, but haven't revisited on there, or, you know, that were important enough to brought through, and I think that works. As far as grants, we are open to grants on that side. I do like a streamlined process, as you know, we talked about, but it's not that I'm not anti-grant on that side. So I think if any of those, if there's any ideas of those things, you guys get sent to them. I might not know them all, but we have, besides us, we have a good team on a consultant team that can apply for us, that go through similar to, you know, some of the stuff we've gotten before. So
Our neighboring city is having a hard time with their stormwater, as you well know, I'm sure, and gas lines and all. I still drink water out of the fountain, out of the faucet. And they said, don't you boil it? I says, no. I says, I've been doing this ever since I've lived here, and I'm still alive and kicking, you know, so I appreciate that, you know, and I want to keep it that way. So keep, you know, let us know what you need, and then we'll work to find the money, okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jeter.
While we were talking about sidewalks, we may need to get Mr. Burns involved. That section that we've discussed on Hollywood where we've tried in the past and maybe just not had any luck next to the new Murphy Gas, there's a section, you may know the address, but if we could get them, if we could get you and Ms. Kopp to help us, there's one section on the north end of Hollywood that breaks up the entire, I don't know, Chief Page, we talked about before, like 3, 4, 5 miles of sidewalk. There's just one parcel where the parcel lines are maybe.
Is there a right of way issue?
yeah, it's a meets and bounds parcel, so it's not a standard right of way. It kind of goes, the corners go basically up to the edge on that side.
But now there's a new gas station and it stops and you can like see it over there and it's a sand pit and people come out in the road. So we don't have to discuss it tonight. You've tried, we've not had much luck because for whatever reason we won't open the negotiation tonight. We just may need to use the hammer to negotiate because grease isn't working. So we might need some help with that.
We can reach out to him and obviously bring Jason in the fold too to contact the, is that at the Murphy property itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I know the parcel, so we can
Yeah,
contact the owners.
got it. My only question is back on your list. I know you called it a wish list, this list, that list.
Yeah.
Can your team accomplish that list?
Well, I think it's important to know that a lot of these are, you know, the public works projects are even though that they're budgeted in a year, some of them are 2, like mostly every sewer lift station and stuff is like a 2-year. But by the time you get to the construction finish, it's usually spans 2 years.
And much of it is subbed out, so I don't mean necessarily your team. I just mean,
correct.
Can we call that a to-do list? Because that's what I'd like to call it. Like we've all set up here, I think the role of government is public safety and infrastructure 1 and 2. So
Yes.
your department, I would rather call that a to-do list and let's get it done. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Got it. That's my only question.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Merrill.
As far as Public Works, it pretty much addresses everything that people have brought up, so again, whatever we can do, whatever we need to do, prioritize it, and we'll do what we need to do on our end.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Riley.
The thing that I'm most concerned about, and I know it's a difficult situation. I know it's tough, probably tough on the budget, but what I would like the cities to really focus on also is some environmental justice issues. And it's probably going to cost, but there's studies that have been done out there. I know that because I've been a part of the, been a part of community leaders that have worked on some environmental issues, and it's a lot of it I know is pertaining to the the Gap Creek, and so down in the off the Lovejoy area where the church, the big church down there, used to be Abundant Life, Destiny Life Church, and I do believe that you all did a tour prior to me sitting on the council. We did a tour in the Combs Manor, and we went down to where the church area is at. That has been one of my most biggest concern when it comes to environmental issues. And so I would really like to see that tackled, you know, whether or not, you know, and I know it's probably just, and that's definitely probably a long-term goal, but the point of the matter is, you'd be surprised at the studies, amount of studies that have already been put in place, and regardless of how you look at it, because it's dealing with stormwater issues, and it's also dealing with the Gap Creek, and so you're gonna have that same, I've done, you know, some tours with over here on the Uptown Station area where it's affected with the Gap Creek, coming down on Beale Street. I mean, so the Gap Creek stormwater issues is an issue that really needs to be addressed with, you know, city, the county coming together and make maybe a mutual understanding or whatever not. But that is an environmental issue. And that needs to be addressed. You know, I know we've been fighting many years for that to happen, and it just hasn't come. And I've met with Representative Pat Maney before and talking about the Gap Creek areas, and I know that's something that he was kind of pushing a little bit, but I can tell you right now, whether it's direct or indirect, you can put however money and Band-Aid on the Gap Creek area, but it all began down where the Herbert Field area is at, down at the end toward where we did the tour. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where the church is at. And so you can't fix this area, unless you fix that area, because it's all directly related to each other. The Gap Creek is running all the way through, and it's a big project though, because it is an environmental issue, but I would like to see in the future.
Yeah, I do believe, I have to check, I don't know if it was vetoed, but I do believe Okaloosa County had finally obtained their funding to clear, you know, it was a maintenance issue all the way up and down. I know it was.
Some of the areas was left out. I remember when they allocated the monies. And I know the Beale Park area where the Gap Creek was allocated, but down in that area, there was no money allocated. And like I said, I've met personally with Representative Pat Maney on that issue. And me and some community leaders, and so.
Okay. And
it's an issue.
We could follow up and see, get back to you
Yeah.
on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, just want to kick off this budget process, just personally thanking you, you know, this past year, Danny. There's still a lot of gaps, you know, between city managers and just different things going on, you know. So again, thank you for stepping up and always humbly, but moving with strength. And again, just thank you for doing those things during these times. Also too, man, I mean, during the winter storm, you know, just what you and your team did and moving trucks around while ice is going on. To the guys like, you know, Buck McNabb and Ralph Owsley that are out there fixing those things, and, you know, the leadership and the culture that you've established in that department is awesome. So again, thank you for your leadership. Question, the kind of piggybacking off of what Mr. Jeter mentioned, even if council was to be able to fund street resurfacing $5 million and you know, sidewalks, like Mr. Allegretto mentioned, we've increased that funding in the years past, but how much could you get done in a year for street resurfacing? Like if we were to add to that, you know, as far as getting things done and, you know, Fort Walton Beach 2.0 and all that stuff. But if we were to fund $3 million in street resurfacing and say we're trying to clean up this whole city as quick as possible, how much bandwidth do we have with our contractors and that kind of workspace to move at what speed?
So street resurfacing would be a good example. We have an annual paving contractor, and they would be large enough to handle that. They really mobilize once a year for a week maybe, and they jump around and they tackle those. They're set to usually our paving happens in the summer. Now between schools, sometimes there's different ones that we have. But street resurfacing would be a good example. I would say if you did do that, like that.
Yeah,
would
not
be
suggesting
one,
we do.
That would not be one that that would feel like it would drag.
Okay.
If that makes sense. As well, I think the most work you'd have would put into which ones you'd want to do.
Okay.
If it was $3 million in sidewalks, probably just with the way some of those have gone, then that would probably be difficult for whatever reason, from cycling through contractors to going through on that side. But so I think they're all kind of different. But generally speaking, the contracted stuff should be done.
So I bring that question up really too to try to articulate a conversation up here where there's that bandwidth issue as far as whether it's sidewalks, depending on what project it is. Moving over to the Hollywood project, does that $3 million
what is that scope of work for that $3 million in this year's budget?
So,
Is that the similar scope in our legislative request?
yes, that is, that was the amount of the legislative request that we had filled out. And that is the pedestrian, that's a roundabout, it's the road diet option that we had through for that portion east. It's a city portion east of Eglinton Parkway, but mainly from Ferry back to Bay Drive.
Okay. What type of period of performance would that project be? Obviously, if it was funded this year, you go out, put out the bid and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, so-
from start to finish, what
Yeah,
kind
so
of?
we are in the middle of, well, like I said, here in August, we'll have a city public meeting, right? We don't have an alternative, but those alternatives will be laid out, right? And once there's an alternative that's like, consensus on one to go, then those design plans, we feel like would be finished through the rest of the year. And then if we did have the funding mechanism on there, then we would go out for solicitation on that. How long it would take, getting a grasp around that, I'm not so sure. I'd have to do a little bit more research on that side. But it probably would span maybe on into the next budget cycle.
Okay, so this helps fund the design.
No, design's already funded.
Design's already
Yeah,
funded.
we did
This
that this
funds.
year. This year, we included the design, and there beefed up public involvement. What we don't have funded is construction.
And that's what this is at?
That's what this is.
All right.
Maybe help you too when we put this together, the request was only include things that you can tackle this year. Once we leave here, let's say the board digs on this presentation, right? So I'll sit down with Nicole and say, oh, these are good to go, but we can't fit it in with the millage that we're still trying to drive to, right? So that $1 million in street resurfacing maybe can get bumped down to 500,000 just so we can meet our numbers.
There you go.
So a lot of this there's going to be some play here potentially, but I think, unfortunately, these are the projects, in my opinion, these are the ones you always want to get ahead of, to stay ahead with the infrastructure stuff. I don't want to have the sanitary sewer overflows, because then you get fines behind that, on top of it being gross. But these are not the sexy projects, right? You don't get to play with them, you don't get to go do anything, it's just you're aggravated because you got to go around traffic. But these are the ones, there was a reason he was selected to go first, because this one probably is really going to drive the rest of your decisions going forward through the rest of this presentation. And then, once we take your direction, we'll figure out how we fold it into that millage presentation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Mr. Bank, as always. You make a clear and concise presentation just for the public's record and ours, because I, find out kind of late or realize kind of late. What, if any, impacts does the 3% cap have on your department? Can you articulate any?
Yeah.
I mean, are there?
My department has a couple of general fund accounts, so obviously we know all those. And then we have enterprise funds, right, which were somewhat excluded, but not everything's excluded. So the personnel is not excluded anywhere, but the operating costs are.
Are you feeling any impacts from it thus far? I mean, have you felt any, had to cut anything, or?
We have maybe made some decisions with that in mind.
Okay.
I think we talked about line locating some other things on there, but once again, proactive versus reactive, that's where we're at on that side.
Good. That proactive versus, thank you for that. That proactive, reactive, it might be, Mr. Davis, I don't know if you guys have talked about it or any planning in the county that's been going on, but I wrote down war room scenarios with the legislature recently having passed, state legislature having recently passed abolishing the lease tax, commercial lease tax for, it's called a couple of number of things, but I think that's a $2.5 billion reduction in revenue to the state, starts effective October the 1st. So they've probably been planning proactively. Governor let them know, hey, this is coming, it's going to happen, and so they've done it. Now with the governor talking and continuing to talk, whether it's about offsetting property taxes with the tourist development tax or abolishing, at least putting up for voters to decide, doing away with property tax. There seems to be a growing movement amongst the people and amongst the governor, from the governor's office for sure, to alleviate, abolish, diminish the sales property, the property tax in general. Have you guys, do you have plans for a war room scenario, discussions with the county? Hey, what happens? I bring that up because for some time, I remember back up at the fairgrounds, my recollection that fairground property that was owned by the city had been in discussion between the city and the county for years. Mr. Beatty started it, may have even preceded him, I'm not sure, but I think he started it. And then it took a couple of years to get through negotiations and wrangling, whatever it was. So have there been discussions between the city and county regarding shared space in facilities, whether it's the chambers up there? You know, we've got a beautiful county chamber up there that, is a beautiful facility that we as city taxpayers pay for through our property tax, or we do currently. We just don't get to use it. We have to come down here. Now the discussion's been coming up continually, obviously, about the condition of this property. What do we do next? And so when we know there's a problem here with this building, got to be torn down, fixed, repaired, replaced, whatever else, and the possibility of property taxes going away, are there any plans or discussions between county and city about any of these war room scenarios where, hey, property tax is abolished, what do we do?
So the short answer is no, in terms of sharing space right now.
Okay.
I have had initial conversations with the county administrator on other topics. We got cut short, so I can circle back.
Sure.
As far as property tax goes, that was kind of, since it was not going to be moving forward, kind of pulled back and focused our efforts elsewhere. But I think that would be okay in certain markets. In certain markets, that's just not going to fly. So I think it's going to be a bigger discussion. So
I'm not sure I understand certain markets. What are you saying there about certain markets? It would be in certain.
some places can generate way more sales taxes than some places. So that, you can take away the property tax because you can figure out a different way, a different mechanism to drive the revenue. Revenue's coming from somewhere.
Sure.
So until you have that, that moment where you don't know what you're going to do.
Sure.
We've been having some, so answer, you asked like 10 questions there real quick. There are no, so none of the departments are adding employees. We kept it, was it 283-ish? So we're under that 3, with the exception of golf. I believe we're adding 1 or 2, but it still kept us under the 3
Like
cap.
2.86 or something like that percent?
Ballpark. As far as, I haven't gone to the D-Day thought process on taking away property tax.
Gotcha. And that's really was my main point. The employees I was just wanting to reiterate from Mr. Payne that the 3% cap, what impact it might be having on him, if any, and whether it was adding employees.
I think that, again, maybe career suicide throwing this out there, but for me, that's going to show up 2 or 3 years down the road and it's going to be too late. We're going to start losing staff because we're going to be capped every year. It's a lesson learned elsewhere in the state. So we'll see how it shakes out. But again, I'm not going to worry about it.
Sure. And thank you. And I had someone reach out to me regarding Gap Creek, and it sounds like you two, you may be, I just happened to see on last week's county commission agenda an inventory study. Is that related to it? It said, they did get funding. It was approved. It was, I think, a relatively small number. What can you tell me that I can pass on to the?
Well, first of all, we've been coordinating for, a long different time. I don't know what the exact request was that they made, but I know at a period of time it was, basically, it's hard to get back there to maintain the flow without it being overground, and I think that's what they were trying to do first, but I could be.
I couldn't figure out for the life of me what inventory study meant. I didn't know if it was trees or bridges or what. I didn't know. I didn't know if you knew. Okay, well, they got to ask me.
Well, it could very well be, I don't want to think other places, is it okay?
So you understand.
Could very well be because understanding that there is debris too with fallen trees and different things in that area that have, really been a great concern with the Gap Creek. And so it's different areas, and it's certainly Gap Creek coming over in this area, because like I said, I did the tour over here too.
Sure.
And saw that, a lot of issues and concerns with the storm water and the Gap Creek being the direct cause of a lot of this. But on the other hand, again, Representative Maney did get some fundings. He got some fundings, but it was allocated to certain areas. It's just that back over in the Herbert Field area, there was no monies allocated over there. And again, like I said, you can't band-aid one area, try to fix the other area without fixing this area.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a direct effect coming from the Herbert Field area where the Gap Creek is, when a lot of folks don't realize that's the Gap Creek right over by the military base.
Sure.
And it's running from here to here, over back over into the county, and then back over, in the
Gotcha.
yacht club area.
I'll reach out to the county and see if they can get me,
Yeah.
just because the
Well, dumb
homeowner asked
question
me
here.
about, I'm sorry?
Yeah, dumb question. Is Gap Creek something we need to add? I don't know what it is.
No, I don't believe so. They had just brought it up, and that's why I was curious, because I happened to have a homeowner ask me, hey, what happened? So I looked into it a little bit, and then hearing you guys talk about it, I thought maybe you would be. But it's okay, I'll reach out to the county on that, see if I can find out a little bit on. And one last question, I guess, and I might have missed, you mentioned the Hollywood study. I know it's been funded previously, we were part of that, and that's that east of Ferry there.
Yes.
And you had said public input had been sent, I live a half a block from Hollywood at that intersection pretty much. So were mailers sent out?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Because I was like, I missed
It's
it.
gonna go out to the group first, and then we exceeded the distance like the DOT does for the area, and those mailers will go out, and it'll be posted and shared with public information too.
And just so I'm clear on that, so we funded the design,
Yes.
which was going to be surveying and all that kind of stuff. Has that field work been done?
So there has been some surveying done.
Okay.
There is we have some conceptual alternatives that we'll throw out there,
I
but the
gotcha.
actual shovel-ready documents
Gotcha.
have not.
Just
because
conceptual?
You'll pick one, yes.
I got you.
Basically.
Conceptual will probably be sent out to the public saying,
That'll be at the,
We want some input.
yes, that'll
Okay,
be at the
gotcha.
meeting at the rec center.
okay, great, thank you.
All right. Ms. Riley,
Only very quickly. I wanted to ask you, do you have a copy of the Gap Creek shed study?
With me now, but
No,
yes,
do
we're
you
gonna-
have access to it?
Mhm.
But maybe you want to share it with
I
Mr.
think
Davis,
we-
or I can share it with him. Because I do believe that there is some effect within the city of Fort Walton Beach with that. Just want to say that.
Yeah.
And we're this close to having that the grant company online. They're just doing the background checks on them, so hopefully we can start expediting some of that too. And even if it falls into this Gap Creek, which I guess is not ours, but yes is the answer.
Okay.
one quick one from you, Mr. Schmidt.
Before Mr. Payne goes down, I do want to highlight too, and I appreciate always the urgency with grants, but just with the TPO grant that we applied for, unfortunately it didn't get awarded to us, but I want to highlight that was a pretty big grant. And since us not getting awarded the grant, staff has continued to work with other partners and hopefully other local government agencies to help continue to fund that scope of work on the grant, but didn't want you to go back down to your seat with, I appreciate the urgency with grants. You've always worn that red hat and been excited about grants, which is awesome. Just wanted to highlight that, what your team has done, because I know you got a lot of other things that you went over in that presentation, but thank you for going after those grants. That's all I got.
Jeter.
Speaking of the grants, the TRIPS grant for Around the Mound that we didn't get, we went back to the county, I think Jason met with, and if the county came back and said, we'll pledge the original $650, but they didn't want to raise it to the 1.3, which is what we're going to have to, so won't get into all the weeds tonight, but if anybody here wants to reach out to anybody at the county, I'm certainly doing it. I think they may have been a little misunderstanding as to what our ask was, but before they're done and completed their budget, let the county know we need another 650 for a total of 1.3, and then possibly if we were to match that 1.3, in other words, we want to split it with the county 50-50, not 25-25, and they were leaving us with the other 50. So if you have any more questions on it, get with Mr. Davis. He knows about it, but I think all of us here in this room know some people at the county. We definitely need to keep not bothering them, but letting them know what our ask is, like like Councilmember Schmidt was saying.
Thank you, sir. And one quick one from me as well, Mr. Payne. I see stormwater master plan update, which I know is just a broad thing that we have to do. As part of that stormwater master plan update, I believe it would be a great opportunity at that point in time for you to include information regarding our very challenging situation with the town of Cinco Bayou and their apparent lack of stormwater planning in any way. Due to the intersection specifically at Hughes and Eglin Parkway, which on their side of the road there just turns into an absolute like small bay where it is 3 to 4 feet deep and cars every single time. I mean, I'm sure there's not a fireman or police officer that's worked for this city for longer than 9 months that couldn't tell you, oh yeah, I've been right over there pulling some family out because they had no idea. That shouldn't be able to exist anywhere in 2025, but the fact that it exists right on the border of our city limits in 2025 is really sad. So I know it's not our thing, I know it's their thing, but they know and we know that we share that border and we got to be good neighbors to each other, and they really need to step up their participation of that. So if that can be at least something that's broached in that master plan to be included to the consultant company, whomever is putting that together, that'd be great. All right, who's next? Ms. Corcoran? Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Hello, I'm Tiffany with the Recreation Department, and I just want to tell you a little bit about what Recreation covers. We actually have several different divisions under our scope. We've got the grounds maintenance right-of-way contract, we've got parks, cemetery, museum, and library, and recreation programs, of course. So this is a list of our mission statements. I won't read all of them to you, but I'll let you read through them. We're a fun group. Here, this slide is about our prior year accomplishments. We completed the new cemetery admin building this fiscal year, and we just tore down the old building just this week. So that was nice to get that eyesore out of there, and it opens up the cemetery and looks really much better, and you can really see the new building. We also just completed the museum addition. We got the keys last week. So we have a punch list of items to complete there, and we'll be working in the next couple of months to get everything moved in and to get all of our displays put together in the museum store. So we're excited about that. It's going to be a great addition to downtown. We have our 5 new pickleball courts at Ferry and the fitness court at Ferry that we did. The recreation complex expansion bid was posted, and we're actually having our mandatory pre-bid meeting tomorrow, so we're excited to see who's going to come forward and help us out with that one. We also did some upgrades to Vandergrift Park downtown with some new pavers and a new interactive mural and some lighting in the trees. And there's a few pictures of those items that were added this year. So this is our approved 25 budget versus requested. You won't see anything new, terribly new there. We've got some capital projects, which we'll talk about now. So our proposed CIPs, we are looking to do some cemetery upgrades. So that will include 2 niche walls that are needed there, some sod along Memorial, sod and irrigation in a new section that we are getting surveyed soon. And then the next one, we're going to do some fencing at Oakland Heights Athletic Fields. Those are the fields behind Home Depot. They need lighting work and also fencing. We have lighting in the budget this year, which we're working on, and then we'll add some fencing in next fiscal year's budget. And then Vesta Heights, we have a walking path there. It's a 1/4 mile that we would like to upgrade from gravel to concrete. That's the park that's on Memorial across from the cemetery in that neighborhood. So these are our priorities. We actually have a lot happening that we'd like to finish. So we'd like to complete the landing renovation. Also, we have Liza Jackson boat ramp and park improvements on the horizon. We would like to continue with our Highway 98 median upgrades. We've currently had those areas We've had someone come in and check those out and let us know what is wrong with them. We're waiting to hear back from them on what we need to do as far as the wells and the irrigation there. We would like to complete the recreation complex expansion this year, and then a Glen Park lighting. So some of our goals and priorities, we would like to develop a 5-year park plan to include all the parks and recreation facilities that will update yearly. There was some talk a few meetings back, a few months ago, about a boat dock reservation app at the landing, so we would like to look into that. And then always the standardization, best practices, and we try to be proactive versus reactive also. And so that's what we have.
Thank you, Ms. Corcoran. Mr. Brown, any questions?
Not right now.
All right. Ms. DeBerry?
Yes, Kenwood Park, I've been getting a lot
Yes.
of comments about Kenwood Park needing major renovation. The swing sets and all that are not in good condition at all.
Yeah, we actually have a new playground on order now. We're waiting for that. That was in our budget this year for Kenwood Park. And we also have new fencing in the budget this year, so we'll be putting new fencing there also.
Okay, good.
So we do have plans for some
What kind
upgrades
of
there.
fencing?
We have a split rail fence there now, so we were going to continue with that. We can put whatever.
You might want to talk to Mr. Davis about the fencing.
Split rails.
We'll look at, have you seen Kenwood Park? We can go through there and talk about that, which we can definitely, it's not too late to change the fencing.
All right. Mr. Jeter, any questions about the Peters Neighborhood Park?
I said that.
I know you did. Gulf of
But the
America.
new playgrounds we need to get is coming
It is coming, yes, it's on order.
for the Peter Park. Got it.
Me and Mr. Davis walked in and looked at it too. Kind of like we did for the pickleball courts at Jet Drive.
Yes.
Well, the first year or so where they were everybody was bringing their blowers and the sand and dirt was washing back on there. I'm kind of starting to hear and see the same thing at Ferry Park. So we kind of briefly discussed some options, but between there and maybe the tennis courts, landscape, synthetic turf. I don't think we need a retaining wall over there like we had to do at Jet Drive, but just seeing the people every day that bring their blowers out there and blow the sand off. I know we'll never stop all of it, but when the elevation is higher than the courts, it tends to run back down in there. So we've walked it, looked at it, talked about it. Should be a small one, but the museum store downtown too, is that going to sell any of our stuff? Because I know one time we talked about like selling our logo shirts or selling, I say this because I had a friend the other day see one of the logos I had and they said, hey, where can I get one of those? And I said, somebody gave it to me 6 months ago. It's the FWB 365 sticker logo.
Sure.
I know they sell them at the golf course, and
They
I'm
do.
pretty sure they're selling good. Matter of fact, in Mr. Davis's email, someone was it Norway? Yeah. Someone had one of our golf shirts or golf hats or something on a whole other country. So is that store going to sell FWB?
We had not talked about that, but we can absolutely have a section in the store that sells some FWB merch.
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy yet, but is there someone,
Right.
if someone wants to buy one of those logos, do we sell them now, like a shirt or a
We
logo or
don't,
a
the only
sticker?
place that we sell them are at the golf course currently.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I would
Yeah,
like
they
to
asked
see
about
that
one of
there.
those logos, so.
Yeah.
And then on the medians, I think we talked about it a few years ago when we were looking at doing them, and I know we lost the DOC contract to maintain a bunch of medians and some other stuff. So has there been any talk about the lowest maintenance option? Because we definitely need to do the medians, but I just feel like I think Santa Rosa and some other areas, a lot of places are going away from that irrigation and grass. And I'm not saying we have to go to synthetic grass, but it is nice to have synthetic grass that you really don't have to touch for 15 years. So just hoping we explore that. Let's not just...
With the medians?
Yeah, let's not just say, oh, well, you need new pumps, you need new irrigation, and we're going to, the Murphy Express gas station we talked about earlier too, it's almost like every project, it's like, yeah, we're going to pine straw, yeah, we're going to mulch it, we're not going to put down any mat, and 6 months later, it looks horrible. So we need to just be thinking about, what's this going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when we don't have the money to maintain it and we lose the DOC contract. So I don't know if it's rock or synthetic grass, but as much maintenance-free options. Maybe Mr. Davis has some South Florida things they do or better ideas.
I
But
think there are some requirements too at DOT. Daniel, aren't there some requirements for medians? What percentage of green we have to have and hardscape? But we will definitely look into that and try to get the least maintenance. We would love that, to have them. The lower maintenance, the better.
correct, 100%.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Merrill.
Nothing today.
Ms. Riley.
I have nothing.
All right, Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, also very similar. I want to kick off this budget process thanking you as well. Dealing with a lot of change and city managers and filling those gaps.
from a growing demand in the golf course and how to figure out all this stuff. I appreciate your professionalism and all the work you and your team does. So, I also want to piggyback off of meetings. I was really open to see, Jeff McDonald and Dustin Colburn, those guys here. But to kind of zoom back out, this median conversation, I love the conversation. I can nerd out about it, so I'm not going to spend too much time. As y'all all know, whether it's Cinco Bayou stormwater issues, it's a jurisdiction issue, right? And I think we can't speak for all the elected officials in those jurisdictions, but I believe they could find out a compromise to figure out, I don't know if the best measure is interlocal agreement or what the tool is, but we can fund it with AstroTurf or, whatever trees or whatever we want, but we're gonna be right next door to somebody on Racetrack Road that's got a median that looks like however the county and unincorporated areas wants to manage their median. So I'm all about cleaning up the city. How we figure out how to coordinate with our county and other city leadership to hold them accountable is really going to be the task. Not so much just the funding of the city jurisdiction, median. So I know you're only responsible for Fort Walton, but whatever Mr. Davis and legal, can consider with the developing relationship we have the county, as well as these other cities, I think we can figure out a deal, figure out a way to architect the deal where maybe it's not all funding all coming from Fort Walton, but figuring out the deal where you run a GIS or the perimeter of Fort Walton Beach, Bill, Racetrack, Eglin, Hollywood, 98, we're probably going to touch 3 or 4 different jurisdictions. If we want to be serious about cleaning up the medians, it's really going to take all of that to get on board with. And I don't want to over-comprehensive this issue, but it's going to take multiple. We've done it before. All these different agencies. We've figured out a way to get it in a local agreement where we get a guaranteed 12.5% of tourism revenue, and that's awesome. But if we can figure out how to do these local politic things with all counties and cities to clean up the medians, that would be awesome too.
I don't know that I have a good answer outside of when I met with the county administrator. Apparently there used to be all the city managers and county administrator would meet, whether it was quarterly or whatever. I guess that stopped and he'd offered to bring that back and I was thinking all in, so I just waited to circle back.
Oh, that's great.
That's the Okaloosa County League of Cities that meets quarterly that all you mayors go to.
No, ma'am.
It's a different meeting.
Talking about something completely
Or
different.
is that completely
Yep.
different?
But that sounds like a great space to put those conversations in and plant those seeds. Again, nerd out with the median type of conversation, but while we have the red light on and we can collaborate amongst the board, and I know we're limited on action, or if we can take action at these discussion meetings, I don't want to.
No, but you could say you'll take action at the next council meeting. Y'all would come to a consensus and vote on it at the next council meeting.
Yeah. Let's go with Mr. Walker first.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, well, then right back to you, Mr. G.
Well, I was just going to say, also, like Chief Bays will even be able to comment on this too. I love that, and Councilmember Schmidt's been working on that for 2 or 3 years, but if we can't get them to the table and play, let's do it on our own and then have all these neighboring communities, whether when we pushed out some vagrants or this and that, don't want to blindside anybody. So I love your working together with all of them, but I don't want to sit around and wait either. And I know we've been trying to do that for years and get that Eglin corridor and all that going, but let's make our place beautiful, and then everybody goes, oh, that's Fort Walton Beach. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when one person on the street fixes up a house, the person across the street's kind of like, I might go out there and trim my trees too. You know what I mean? Instead of, I love the idea and it's great, but I don't want it to slow down us making Fort Walton Beach great again. Let's make all them raise their level playing field too.
All right. Oh, yeah, Mr. Brown.
Like I loved with Daniel's slide, it said modernization and transformation. And I think it's something as simple as the medians can set the tone for that. So I do agree with getting everybody on par, but to caveat off of what Bryce said, just set the standard. I mean, I know we're budgeted for the ones that we're already working on now.
Sure.
But let's bring back more. I mean, it's a simple fix, easy fix. However, if it's low maintenance, however we want to come up with it, but just continue to budget for easy projects like medians that'll make the city look a lot better.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Corcoran. Mr. Frasetti.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to go through some projects, really mainly from our side. It's focused on, the CRA projects and some things that they all probably heard in some of our CRA meetings and we'll be hearing at future CRA meetings. So I didn't want to kind of rehash some of the items that we've discussed in our recent meetings, but going into our department, we do focus on a variety of kind of development, redevelopment priorities and divisions from the building permitting inspections, community redevelopment, planning and zoning. A lot of the day-to-day meat of our operations are the probably not exciting public-facing things. It's processing a lot of paperwork, following a lot of state laws, a lot of local ordinance and laws. But the fun, exciting stuff is really just what I'm going to kind of touch on here. Also with that, some of these projects, maybe recent discussions too, as well as recreation. Something we like to say, a lot of these CRA projects, in some cases, we do lead these up. We manage, project manage these. In some cases, we're just kind of the checkbook to help other departments facilitate and get projects across the finish line. So the first kind of category here is really going to be speak more to beautification. I think that's one of the priorities that we've heard coming forward. And so these are some projects that either are currently starting or are going to be we're proposing in the budget for next year to get going. And the first one we have here is the Brook Street lighting upgrades project. That's something that amongst me and my team we've talked about with the landing, the new lighting that's gone at the landing. Last year we had some new lighting at Sound Park. What we want to do is start working our way throughout downtown to replace the old white fixtures and poles and have a consistent look of light fixtures, light poles, matching the same style as the landing and Sound Park. Helps, provides a nice uniform appearance, helps with that beautification, and also helps with some future maintenance costs and replacement costs. Having one unit across the board. So that's a project that we're proposing is to start working with the replacement, working with Daniel as well. We've worked with FDOT and the bridge to hopefully then as that bridge in the next few years comes online, we're going to be able to do some of the other light fixtures in a consistent look and style around the bridge. The next is those Mercosur Parkway streetscape upgrades. We'll rehash that, but that is again working with Tiffany and Recreation. That's one of those that we do have money available in the CRA to support that type of beautification effort. So that's just a project, just to highlight as far as a funding kind of mechanism from the CRA that we have available. The Walter Martin streetscape design. Similar to the Hollywood projects and all that Daniel's working on and his team is working on, this is a project that from our side we kind of identified here recently over this last year, in that we've seen a lot of redevelopment on the private side on Walter Martin. You can think of a variety of businesses from end to end of Walter Martin that we've seen come online. A few of those have received some of our CRA grants for property improvements, landscape, facades, and we've got a few more of those properties that we have seen that we've met with that are potentially going to be redeveloped. And so from our side, what we identified was that's it's a short corridor, but it seems like it just has such great potential to have a full-on streetscape potential, looking at capacity and lanes and multimodal bike sidewalk improvements. So what we're in the upcoming budget, we're proposing to at least start with the design cost of it for the next fiscal year, and depending on timing and cost, that's one of those that we do anticipate will probably take a couple of years to get to actually completion as far as construction goes. But if we can start that process, it's one of those projects that we've heard over the years of, hey, the private sector and the private redevelopment's happening, but maybe they don't see it from the city or from the public side. So it's something we can help kind of show support and move forward, help beautify that area of the CRA of the city. We'd love to do so. The streetscape, the wayfinding system, that's something we've talked about for a few years. We've had it budgeted for a couple of years. A couple of years ago when we first we have we have a plan that we worked with a consultant a couple of years ago to have a new wayfinding signage system, which is those signs, informational kind of directional signs throughout the city or throughout the CRA, specifically here, that point you to various locations and provide just a nice aesthetic throughout the CRA. We have some old CRA wayfinding signs still around the CRA that kind of probably don't even know they're there unless you're really looking for them, and a lot of them are outdated, just aging. We did have a design package put together with construction plans and all. We initially put it on hold because of the FWB 365 logo and branding. We didn't want to put wayfinding signage out there and then come up with a new logo afterwards that was inconsistent, didn't match the colors or general design. We got that through, and then we kicked off the downtown design guidelines. So at the same time, we didn't want to rush the wayfinding sign and then have design guidelines that came out and conflicted. Since we are now finishing up that design guidelines, we're working with purchasing now to finalize the scope and get that out for bid to have a wayfinding system. We're working with the contractor to get a new set of signage installed throughout the CRA. We've had some money budgeted this year, but do plan to have some money as well budgeted next year to hopefully see that project through to completion. The dumpster enclosure program, that's something that it came up over last probably 2 months or so. We actually had a few complaints, concerns about some of the appearance of dumpsters in the downtown area, more of a code enforcement type issue. And so when we started looking at that, going back to the goals and objectives of the CRA, we saw the blight there and the issues with them. And so my team, and working with sanitation and public works and utilities, we kind of came up with an idea, hey, let's create a dumpster enclosure program that can either put new enclosures around ugly dumpsters that don't have enclosures in the CRA, or potentially make needed repairs or improvements to existing enclosures to help with remove the blight, increase the beautification throughout the CRA. So that's something that we're working on now with sanitation. My team's been doing ride-arounds and trying to identify potential candidates for that program, again, just to help with the beautification throughout the CRA. The Sound Park landscape upgrades, that's something also, I know we've talked about different aspects of that. We did the lighting, which is the one picture that I have there is of the lighting upgrades that we did over this past year. We've also done the gazebo improvements. Well, the next stage of that we've discussed is working with Recreation to do some irrigation and landscape repairs and upgrades as well in that park. And then lastly on here is our pressure washing program. Over the last couple of years, we've done some limited pressure washing of mainly Miracle Strip Parkway downtown, in the main core of downtown, as well as some on Brook Street. We also, the streetlights, the white existing streetlights downtown had gotten cluttered up with stickers and stuff on them. So we had a pressure washing company come in, clean up the existing poles, do some pressure washing once or twice a year just in the core. What our plan is for next year and going forward is to expand the pressure washing to as much of the main kind of arterial roads throughout the CRA, all the sidewalks. We're proposing to budget quite a bit of money to do a twice a year pressure washing program throughout the CRA, so that kind of we've talked about with other jurisdictions and coming into our city limits, coming into our boundaries. We want it to be clean. We want it to stand out and not blend in with maybe some of our surrounding areas. So the goal of that is really, I've looked at other cities and some of those ideas is, come here and you look at our dirty sidewalks and things like that, is let's put a dedicated program together and really clean it up in the CRA. So that's our goal on that project. Moving forward, some of the kind of SEPTED related projects we've also had here. Again, some have been discussed and some are working, some are working in progress right now. The nuisance abatement dilapidated property clearance program, that was discussed at the last CRA meeting as far as identifying some of these properties that have structures that are needed demolition, need just properties being cleared, made more marketable and redevelopment friendly. And so that's the program that we are currently working with. That will be coming back to a council meeting coming up, identifying priorities and zones and seeing how we can kick off that program. Next are some Chester Pruitt Park improvements. That's one that we're also working with Tiffany and Recreation. That again, we're kind of the checkbook on that one as they take the lead. But those are improvements we've with Elisa and our CRA side have identified some lighting improvements, some restroom facility improvements, and that's where we are happy to help kind of support and fund that as Tiffany works through that and Recreation works through that process. And then lastly on here are the SEPTED analyses. This is identifying, we've worked through between us and working with the police department as well to do some of these different SEPTED analysis throughout the CRA or throughout the city if it's outside, working with PD outside the CRA, is to identify needed improvements. We can do our public properties, and that helps us create a roadmap for funding. If we have money available now or in the future, we can kind of program those into the budget. One of those I know recently come up in some discussions was improvements around the library in front There's a vegetative area there that was discussion. I'll say we did recently here, just since that a few weeks ago, did septa analysis of there, got with the library manager, come up with ideas for improvements and things to make it safer and just better environment there around the library. So those are the types of projects that we do kind of try to build in, try to complete on the public side, lead by example, and then we also do help some on the private side as well. There's a process, application process and all, and people can come in and request private property ones. There's a fee in the fee schedule and all that. So those are more of the safety, as well as in some cases beautification and removal of blight and all in the CRA. Those are really the projects I had to kind of wanted to run through. I didn't want to kind of rehash too much because I know we've discussed previous CRA meetings and all too, but happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Rossetti on this? Start with Mr. Browning.
Just a statement, just keep up, I love the beautification projects. Hopefully we can make it pour over into all the Fort Walton Beach. We talked about Fort Walton Beach 2.0, so we're gonna have a CRA 2.0 and Parks 2.0, but I don't wanna leave Fort Walton Beach at 1.0, so hopefully we can share all of that and hopefully it spreads throughout the whole city.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Berry.
Yes, I have three. Walter Martin, that's where the post office is, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you developed good relations? Has Elisa gone over there and talked to him, the post office?
I don't know if she has necessarily. We have had a relationship some over there with postmaster and things over the years.
You know what I'm referring to?
Oh, yes.
The Blight Post Office, that's what I call it, the Blight Post Office.
We actually cited them through code a couple of years ago, even though it's interesting jurisdictionally wise, but we did push them on some. That's when they repaired the wall that was run into multiple times.
Well, keep working at it.
We are still working. Yes, that is an ongoing effort. So
Keep working. CRA wayfinding systems installation.
Yes.
Could you expound on that?
Sure.
Because I get lost sometimes.
So the one picture there to the top left, that's an example of one of the images out of the wayfindings plan. Basically, they're nice signage. They can be so the plan has everything from kind of entrance signs for the city to specifically CRA to also directional signs that could point to where downtown is, where the library is, where public safety locations are, where City Hall is. There are currently those types of signs throughout the CRA that are 20 plus years old. Some of them are, well, most of them they're all outdated, they're faded, they're worn. So our plan is to remove those and just put some nice signs that match the FW 365 colors and all. Those colors aren't shown here, but that is our plan to make it nice.
Okay, three. How about the Fort Walton Beach sign at the Golf View?
Yes, working on bids right now. We've received one bid, and I was actually talking to Lisa just a little while ago. We're supposed to be getting our second bid any time now. We've reached out to several companies, trying to figure out where that dollar amount's the threshold's gonna fall. It's gonna be within city manager approval versus coming to council. But we're pushing on that thing with sign contractors every day. We hope any day now we should have our second bid, and then we're hoping to be able to start rolling into getting that approval process, either through through the purchase order process, through city manager, or to council if needed as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent questions, Mr. Berry. Mr. Jeter.
They were so good, you actually put them up. The post office, if you need help outside of that, whether it's...
We did a couple, and we can definitely kind of reconvene on that, because I can't recall if it was Mr. Burns or Ms. Cobb.
I remember last time
when it was.
I think it's before us.
I know, I can't remember honestly last time, but we did work through a city attorney here a couple years ago.
I think it was Hayward too, and we got the answer if it was federal property, there's nothing we could do.
Correct.
So
But we still did notices at that time, knowing that, if push came to shove, we may not, have too much on that, but we did notices, which we cited for the grass, the general, maintenance.
But they still hadn't fixed any of it, so what do we do now? We just mail out a letter?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind
Because
of...
it's federal property, we can't do anything to it, we can't, so maybe we need to try
Actually,
some.
probably not the worst idea to siphon through the code enforcement process, because they'll have to put it up the chain of command.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're gonna be just butting your head up against the postmaster the whole time, so it's not the worst idea to do that, because he has to then hand it to the legal department, and someone else but him finds out about it, so you might get some more movement.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what we did a couple years ago, but it's probably time for it again. So that's when they did repair the wall, the short wall there, and cut the grass. But now it's probably one of those ongoing issues, and we can certainly.
Let's stay on them, and let's definitely try to use some more teeth if we can, because it's still, and then the colors, I was gonna go back to that too, because
Yes.
the wayfinding, we've had those same images for years, but now
Yes.
we're going to like the navy blue and teal look with this other sign, so I just, we're
We are going to
changing
only
that.
these colors. I was just.
Because now you got the Destin Fort Walton Beach coming in, which I know it's Cinco Bayou, but they got the old, Wells Fargo Bank over here. That's getting ready to be navy blue and teal, and it's in Cinco Bayou. But again, people come over the Cinco Bridge, they think they're in Fort Walton Beach, they're seeing navy blue and teal. Our surfboard signs are navy blue and teal. So let's just make sure we keep the same branding and the same image, and then. Kind of back to all of this looping together, one of my favorite things is, I know we don't have to go over it tonight, but it's like we've been doing with the CRA, like whenever we have business meetings at work or whatever, it's kind of like, what did we say we were going to do last year? What did we say we were going to do last month? What did we get done? All those, okay, the 7 we didn't get done, they go to like the top of this month's list or this year's list. So I just feel like sometimes with specifically the CRA, it's cool and it's great and there's money there, but sometimes we get caught up in like all the things. I would love to go back over the years past, because I definitely feel like we've set up here and had a list, and it's like, are we done with that list before we make a new list?
Sure, absolutely.
And we have everything all there checked off. If we do, cool, let's make a new one, but if not, let's make sure we're still doing the ones we've talked about in the years past and not just making a new one.
Yeah, great suggestion. Great input.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Merrill.
I just think about what they said earlier about Cinco Bayou being our neighbor. And so with the CRA, a lot of what I see is our neighbors, as the city beautifies and does things, the neighbors of the city are the business owners a lot of times, especially in that district. So I know we talked a little bit about the CRA meeting, but I'd love to see something that pushes that initiative towards whether incentives, education, and community involvement, to where, you might not always get everybody. I think about pressure washing, right?
Right.
I mean, I've seen pressure washing, they did it, and they did it, and they didn't do it, and it doesn't look beautiful. It looks like somebody didn't, and it just stands out that much more. So as we go into these improvements and the money's spent and we're doing everything, and the parks down there look beautiful, the landing looks great, how do we, and not just downtown, but all over where we're spending that money, how do we get everybody on board? And I know you guys are pushing with code enforcement. There's been great movements along on that, but just something, because I think people, especially the residents and the business owners, I mean, I myself would be behind that kind of stuff, but knowing about it, so whatever we can do to get that program, an initiative to do that, would be great to see.
Great. And I'm hopeful on the kind of that too. We're going to be doing the monthly kind of public input meetings starting next week actually, and as well as more frequent board meetings, and also we're hoping to get definitely more community involvement and input on some of these projects and new projects, new ideas, going forward too. We'll try to work through, like I said, complete the list as we roll forward and get these going. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
Ms. Riley.
I have no questions.
All right, Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off the incentives, and we have, like Mr. Merrill mentioned, talked about it a lot in the CRA meeting, but I want to continue to advocate for, I know in the years past, we've done a lot of facade grants, and, trying to, at that point, be in a reactive position where we're trying to solicit people to come here, and the ones that are already here will help paint and, give you some trees and things like that. I'd like to see us get away from some of those facade, hey, we'll paint the side of your place for you since you can't paint it kind of stuff, and go more towards financing and funding those incentives that may include acquisition of a Circle K gas station, or different things that we can completely supportive of the nuisance and abatement program like we talked about as well. So I want to continue to highlight the incentives, while getting away from being in that posture of, I know we're technically an entitlement city, and I know we get about 150,000 grand because of that, but I hate that. You know what I mean? I know we're going to keep branding for Walton Beach 2.0 and all that, but if we're really going to get to that standard, these one-off facade grants that we've been doing, getting away from that and trying to control the environment of what we have economic development coming in here and what we need to get out of here. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Councilman Walker.
No questions, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pacific.
Thank you.
Mr. Hill. Welcome.
Thank you. Wanted to go over some highlights from the past year. The had a lot of good things going on. Pines Course renovation, it's on schedule. Looking to reopen it September 1st. So that's been really good. Been able to get a couple other projects done during that, using our time effectively. We've been able to add a couple of bunkers, change some of the fairway rough lines. One of the big things that we've done over the past year is realignment of some staff to bring it up to industry standard. We have a dedicated superintendent, an assistant superintendent for each course now. Brings in a little bit more attention to detail. You'll have one guy overseeing 360 acres by himself. That's proven to be very helpful with the amount of play we've had on the Oaks. Oaks is in probably as good a shape as I've seen it. And that's with all of the play going through one course right now. So, as far as the pro shop, first full year with merchandise. Merchandise has been going really well. We should hit our yearly budget for merchandise sales by the end of this month. A lot of that has come from stuff in the shop, but we've also been having some club fitting events. Those are really good because a person comes and tries the clubs, orders the clubs, and pays for it before we ever pay for it or receive it. So it's just built-in margin that it's not stocking something that's just sitting in the shop inventory-wise. We are now a Golf Now Spotlight course. One of the things that does is people staying in Destin and surrounding areas, we will pop up at the top of the list on Golf Now. And with the value that we provide in the golf area here, that should draw some people from Destin and surrounding areas to come play our course. The Golf Now Call Center, that's another thing that we've done to better utilize staff. When you call the golf course now, option 1 goes directly to a call center. They've got representatives that have all of our information on the facility, can book tee times, so that our guys standing in the shop can take care of the customers that are in there. There is an option to get to the pro shop staff, which is option 2. Driving range, new ball machine, implementation of actual different bucket sizes. So beginning of last year, it was just $3 a bucket, one size. We've gone to a small, medium, large size. That's probably one of the biggest testaments to the increased revenue we've had. Expanded range hours, range is open until 10 p.m. every night now. I'd say a quarter of our daily revenue comes between 8 and 10 o'clock at night. Have already exceeded our range budget for the year, and yeah, so those are highlights for the year. I'm going to go into some of our capital requests, one of which is a newer problem that has come up more recently. 3 of our buildings at our maintenance facility, which I believe one of them used to be the old Oaks Pro Shop before both pro shops were combined, have severe termite and mold damage. It got brought up because we had an employee that thought that it might be causing some health issues, so we had it checked out. Definitely got persuaded not to use those buildings going forward. So just in this year, we would like to set aside some funds to do the design process for our new maintenance facility. And then also our driving range tee with the addition of TrackMan coming. The driving range tee is still the original, so they go through and top dress the driving range tee with sand to fill in all the divots. And decades of filling it with sand, it's turned into one giant hump instead of a flat tee box. So we'd like to fix that to improve the facility. Medium priority stuff, we need a couple more maintenance carts, a material handler. The material handler is an interesting piece of equipment. It actually saves us from a much larger project. We have material stalls at the maintenance facility. We had talked about adding material stalls to the old Pines Clubhouse area where the First Tee facility is going to go. That Toro material handler actually allows them, when they go through and top dress greens or use stuff, they can get 7 to 8 greens done by dragging that thing around full of sand instead of taking the top dresser back to the maintenance facility after every green. So makes staff more efficient, saves us time. Yamaha 6-seat cart, we host a lot of tournaments. Currently, we make people walk from the kart staging area to the driving range and back for customer service. To deliver exceptional customer service, it'd be nice to have that cart to be able to have a staff member shuttling people back and forth from the kart staging area to the range on tournament days. And then some wants. Our current push carts are probably 20 years old. It's an amenity. We don't charge for people to walk, so more of a amenity for people that do like to walk, but we don't currently have any push carts that are in good shape. Maintenance would like another tractor. A lot of the stuff we use has to be either pulled behind a tractor or top dresser attached to it. And then another want, I'm all about expanding and making the driving range as efficient as possible. There is a system that will automatically mow and pick the range 24 hours a day. I could get the range open probably an extra 6 hours every Monday because the range is closed till 2 p.m. currently every Monday. So that would expand operating hours of the range every year drastically. And then long-term projects, indoor golf simulators, kind of the second part of the TrackMan long-term. Abandoned Edwin Watts room is perfect for that. Obviously the new maintenance facility, renovating the Oaks course later down the road, First Tee facility, that's not necessarily us, but a big thing that's coming to the course. And then a possible tournament staging area in between number 1 and 18 on the Pines. Oh, that's all I got.
All right, questions from Mr. Hill, Mr. Brown? Mr. Berry?
Where are you going to get the money for all this?
User fees.
User fees. So we are.
TDC.
That too?
We'll take it wherever we can get it. No, one of the cool things with getting the Pines renovated this year is having the ability to have 2 golf courses at different prices. So we can actually kind of compete with ourselves. So the Pines course price is going to go up a little bit. The Oaks course is going to stay a little bit lower. So the person that seeks the value of the value is going to play the Oaks course. The person that wants to pay for maybe a little bit better experience, a little bit less people on the course, they're going to pay the extra 15, 20 bucks to play the other course. So it actually builds some competition within our own facility to help drive revenue.
Good. How about that room there as you enter to the right that's been empty for so long?
Yeah, so that's a long-term goal. We would like to put some indoor golf simulators in there. That's kind of the second part to the TrackMan proposal that we just got approved. So that room would actually fit 6 to 7 indoor golf simulators, and whether it's raining 95 degrees outside, those would be rented all day.
So we'll have to go arm wrestle on getting that approved, huh? Yeah.
I'm hoping to have enough user fees.
We'll find out here in another week when I finish revenues for the city.
Yeah, yeah. You need to find some revenues to make that place pay for itself, yeah.
We're working on it. That's my goal, is to run it like a business, so.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jeter?
Yeah, TDC funds are actually user fees too, whether you call it fee, call it a tax. I know Councilmember Walker loves it, but it's fees that we collect from tourism that's played out there. And I've been out there before and asked guys, hey, where are you from? And they said, oh, I'm from Destin. And it's, you know, we like coming to play this course. So I've personally seen some of the, experienced some of the stories that you're explaining. And back to what you said about a business. You have other family members that run private courses that have to be run like a business, correct?
That's correct.
Which is what I love about the way you've done some of this. You have long-term projects. Yeah, sure, fund them all, but I do agree with, you know, Councilman DeVere. We can't use taxpayer dollars to do that, but the way that you've got it broken down into, we need some of these structures built for necessity reasons, call it health reasons, call it that. We need some of this other stuff. It's once, and if we can just have this on the radar, like your long-term projects you're doing. I love how you're putting that out there, because if you don't have a target, you'll never hit it. So you truly are running this like a business. You have a target. Are you going to achieve all of these, you know, goals this year? No, but you have a target that when we do next year sit here and look at revenues and go, wow, Jacob was right. We reinvested into this fund, and now we have additional funds that we can now use, and we pick one of these other projects. And I think at that point in time, we'll look back at you and say, okay, Jacob, you've been right for the last year or two. Pick something off this list that you now want to do that you think will increase the revenue again. So I can't say great job enough, and thank you for everything that you're doing out there and how you're bringing a lot of ingenuity to something that can bring us a lot of revenue. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Mayor.
No questions, but great job. I love to see it and look forward to seeing the revenues created.
Ms. Riley.
I really don't have any questions either, other than to tell you, I did have the opportunity to visit the golf course, and I really enjoyed it, and so I understand quite a few things now, and so great presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Schmidt.
Yeah, I appreciate you running it like a business. You know, the financials you gave us at last meeting when we were discussing the track and scope is, I'm a big fan of raising the rates for user fees to create that experience, and what you've done with the driving range, point of sale, and the buckets and all that, as well as your vision with the two different courses and having a different price point. Love it. The 6 hours on the Monday deal, what is that roughly costing us? As far as the lack of production?
Probably 30 to 40% a day.
About rough estimates. And that's every Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, from just a realization standpoint, I mean, I'd like us to see that, because to me, I agree with Councilman DeBerry. We got to continue to find these users that are wanting to create, or excuse me, pay for that experience at the Pines that may be $70 or $80, whatever that is, that want to go pay for 100 balls to go hit out the driving range, continuing to raise those user fees. No one's forcing them to go play golf, right? You know what I mean? And that revenue is going to continue to be generated to offset in these budget cycles each year. Over the years, we've had to subsidize park and recs and subsidize public works and those different things to fund the golf program. The direction and the vision that where it's headed with those actual numbers that we got last meeting is going to help pay for these things. So I'm fully supportive of however Mr. Davis and y'all, you know, but getting that, I know it's just an ask, but if from a productivity standpoint, if that's how much it's costing us and we can bring in that revenue based off of user fees, I would support that. I would also like to see, though, before we get to the end of this budget process, I'm going to continue to advocate for that cut through with Kenwood. You know, seeing how we can figure that out. You know, I'm confident with the first tee programming and the demolitions of different buildings we're doing is going to help beautify it. And through that, I'm hoping our perimeter fencing will fix itself. You know, but I'm a big fan of the program and the beautification of it. I just want to continue to figure out how we can get those 2,000 homes to your beautiful program without having to go to the single point of entry down Lewis Turner and loading up their kids and grandkids to go do this experience. And then also too, just from a beautification standpoint, you know, I know we're having a lot of conversation about fencing, but because of the potential of this environment has, I'd like for our residents to see every time they leave the pickleball courts or they're going to their neighborhoods or they're driving around down Lewis Turner after they left Freedom Beacon Park, we currently got a rusted chain link barbed wire fence at the perimeter of our golf course. And this is nothing on any, we're looking out the front windshield. From a beautification standpoint, budget process, there's a couple things I'd like to see before getting fully behind these things. I like the vision, I like where it's headed, but I'd like to see a couple things tweaked before we get it all final. So thank you.
Good point. Councilman Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. I was glad to hear you say run it as a business. That's definitely something that sounds promising. Do you know what last year's gross revenue was for the golf course?
I'd have to go back and look off the top of my head.
Running it as a business,
Yeah.
you should know what the gross revenue was. Do you know what the total expenses were last year?
I could,
We can pull them.
Yeah.
I just don't have them.
yeah.
Thank you. Do you know how the rates of our golf course compare to private golf courses in the community?
Substantially lower.
Right, thank you. Does the golf course pay property taxes on the land there?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're at an advantage over private businesses that run it for a business. So we've got that advantage. And so we're not paying property taxes, we're lower. So, you know, I don't know where everybody else is, but, you know, it just bothers me greatly that the government is harming private businesses in
No.
that sense.
I agree with you. That's why I think the rate should be higher. And that's why we've raised the rate over the past year. The Pines is going to go up when the renovation is done as well.
And that's good. I mean, there will likely be an advantage to a city golf course financially over a private competitor. They're paying property taxes. They've got real life scenarios. They don't get to come before council and ask about whether it's taxpayers' TDC money or any other money. So I do look forward to you continuing going in the private business direction, running along that way. You mentioned, obviously, over the last few meetings, I've had an interest in the third party discussion and the potential threats that have been brought up, that if we look at third parties running the golf course, how that might threaten the deed or the lease there. So you mentioned, I heard it several times from council members up here, third party runs the concessions. Third parties now are going to be an option on the phone that they're going to be going to a third party entity booking tee times.
That's our point of sale system.
Point of sale is by a third party.
We don't,
Golf now.
that's a software that we use, yes, sir.
Right, thank you. And then Trackman is a third party.
It's operated by us.
Okay. So, you know, I'm just hearing more and more that we're blending over there, but yet when I bring up the option of the dream world for me is that the golf course is managed not only like a private business, which you say is your goal, and everyone up here said it's your goal, but to actually be a private business where taxpayers are off the hook for all that equipment up there, whether it's TDC money or anything else. Taxpayers are off the hook. If you were to guess, have you been in private golf course management before?
Yes, sir.
If you were just to guess, I mean, obviously I asked about the gross revenue because that's one of the multipliers to determine value, but what do you think the ground lease would be on such a golf course from a third party? Any clue?
I wouldn't.
Okay. So, you know, the taxpayers could be removed from the hook from any losses by having a ground lease on it and a share of revenue from play, and that's being managed by a third party while it remains the Fort Walton Beach City Municipal Golf Course, ran as a private business by a private business. So that's been my interest. So when I heard you talk about third party entities, I was glad to hear that. I was glad to hear you talk about running it as a private business.
It wouldn't be allowed to be called a municipal golf course if it was operated by a third party.
Okay. I'm not, so where do you
It's
know
just,
that from?
to have the title municipal golf course, it has to be owned and operated by the municipality.
Okay, I spoke with a course down in Central Florida that had changed from city management to private management, and I don't recall that coming up, but I'm not doubting. I'll definitely look into it. It'd be the Fort Walton Beach Golf Course. It could be the Fort Walton Beach Golf Course, maybe. So, And lastly, I know you've only been there a short while, and maybe this is more in Daniel's department, but it seems like it would fall under your new responsibilities, but to hear that a building owned by taxpayers is infested with termites and health hazards there. I mean, is there a termite policy in place within the city of your facilities? And I guess that goes broader to all facilities. I mean, we all know, I know, being in business that I'm in, that you got to have a termite policy. Or the good news and the bad news is what do they say? The good news is your building is still standing. The bad news is it's because the termites are holding hands. That's the state of those buildings over there. So termite policy is cheap and it's very protective. So if you don't have a policy of having a termite policy in place on any new building that's wood, I encourage us to seek that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Because I'm a small business too, and this might just be ignorance. You're not talking about selling the golf course. You're just talking about a third party, and we would
Like a
sell
management
it.
company.
Why don't we do something like that? You've done both sides.
As a municipal golf course, yes, it's supposed to be run like business, but it's also an amenity to the residents of the city. Typically, when a golf management company takes over a municipal golf course, they jack up rates substantially, scare off a lot of the city residents, stuff like that. The other thing with it too is, in my professional experience, anytime I've ever been involved with a management company, the management company will sign the contract, manage the course for X amount of time, fulfill the contract, not renew, and then it's left in worse shape than it started. Because they're obviously there to just turn a profit. But the reason we wouldn't do it, in my opinion, is because it's an amenity to the city residents.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Shipman.
Good evening, Council. Newly appointed chief, talk about short time here. I don't have really a lot of presentation for you because, of course, this is my first time doing this. But I do have a few talking points, mainly about the progress of the fire department currently. Of course, Chief Morgan just recently retired. I got appointed. Proud to say right now we are currently fully staffed. We haven't had that in quite a while. The one shortfall we have right now is our paramedics. The reason we were short-staffed, a lot of our neighboring fire departments increased the salaries, and of course a lot of them left, people with short time or whatever. So our paramedic numbers, we like to have them around 15. We're currently around 9. What that does is we like to have 3 per shift with 3 apparatus. That's easily 9 right there. You have one person take off, it causes overtime. Our overtime budget is kind of out of hand, but luckily we did not have full staff for the entire period, so kind of balances out. But right now, I think that the morale is increased at the fire department. Budget-wise, we didn't really deviate much from the previous year. We do have a few capital items. Again, I don't have any good presentation and videos from you guys, but the first thing is we got a brand new fire engine, Engine 7, I think. A couple of you guys attended that. The engine that it replaced, it's currently, we want to have it overhauled. Engine transmission, wiring harness. We had some gremlins in that thing, and for a small fee, you can actually have a really good backup with that apparatus. Secondly, our cardiac monitors. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we are ALS department, advanced life support, meaning we can do everything EMS can do except transport. But with our cardiac monitors, ones we have currently owned by a company called Stryker, they're LifePak 15s. We have about 4 or 5 years left, and they won't support us. Generally, they run them $40,000, $45,000. What we're going to, Okaloosa County EMS and a lot of other departments. They're going to a company called Zoll. A little less expensive cardiac monitor. We put in for money to have those replaced this year. We can get the most out of them now before the market's flooded with them. The monitor is awesome. It does so much. Really for us, when it comes to life safety stuff, a lot of people hear fire department, they think it's fire only, but we do so much more. And one of them is our medical calls. When it comes to our cardiac arrests, you know, trying to actually truly save somebody's life, that piece of equipment gives us so much feedback to increase the chances of that person surviving and actually possibly leaving the hospital with no deficits. So we put in money for that to trade in for, have for replaced. And also one of our, the air bottles we wear on our backs, the generator out at our sister station, Station 7, needs to be replaced. We got a quote for about 20 grand to fix it. The parts come from Switzerland or somewhere, or use 40 grand to just replace the entire unit. That way it's continued to be supported. Even if we replace the parts to the one now, we don't know how long they will continue to support that piece of equipment. Let's see, other than that, our gear replacement, we're still, every year we replace 13 sets of bunker gear. Recently, House Bill 929, I think, addressed some of the safety issues with, we had gear that actually caused cancer or other illnesses. Our gear currently does not meet that standard. That'll be for later. We'll try to get those replaced with stuff that won't actually hurt us. The only thing is it's going to be a pretty big cost. You're talking about 39, 40 sets of gear, 2 per person. That's going to be out there. But anyway, that's for a future time, future talk. I can take any questions for the most part on the budget.
Thank you, sir. Questions, Mr. Browning, Mr. Berry?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Browning?
He declined.
There's other medical supply companies other than Stryker.
Yes, ma'am. That's why we're going to hopefully Zoll with your.
Yeah, and others. Yeah, shop around.
All right. Mr. Jeter.
That was my question too. I thought I heard you say that. You said the Zoll cardiac monitors are cheaper than the Stryker, but you said something, hurry up and get it before they flood the market. So is everybody kind of on that same Stryker lease to where a few years, you're wanting to replace them now rather than wait till the term ends on the current one so that the market's not flooded and the resale value is on the Strykers. So I guess everybody's kind of on that same lease time frame.
Well, yes and no. We purchased ours earlier than some of the others, so they're going to eventually look to replace theirs. If we jump on it now, ours are maybe a little bit older, so they'll probably hang on to theirs probably another couple of years versus if we can get rid of ours now.
Gotcha. And twofold, the other ones are cheaper if everybody waits till then. They're going to continue to raise their price because everybody's switching. So it's kind of 2 birds with 1 stone switching to.
And as I mentioned, Okaloosa EMS has the contract now. They will honor that same price. We can fall in under that same contract. So that gives us a little bit extra off as well.
Showing big brother. Gotcha.
Well, those companies like Stryker and Zoloft and all those others, whenever a new product comes up, they get rid of these brand new. And they mark them down. And there's other places. I've been buying behind the scenes for a long time. And there's other places that you can get it. If you don't want a 2025 model or a 2026 model, but you'll take a 2024 model that's never been used, brand new, it's still good. You know, you can look at that too. And they work just as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Merrill.
The EMS, the paramedics being short 40% down staff. You want 15, you have 9. And then you mentioned the overtime budget's crazy. I mean, just from a business owner standpoint, that kind of thing would drive me crazy because people can then be overworked and then you're not saving any money. We're down 40% with paramedics because we're not stepping up. What's the pay difference? What do you see in the market? Are we shy $3 an hour, $5 an hour, but then we're paying time and a half? I mean, are we shy more than that?
We're addressing that now, hopefully.
So yes, we did just wrap up, verbally the union contract. I'm just waiting for them to send me the draft for signature. To address that, we looked at all the surrounding, what I would consider comparable departments. The request from fire was $8,000 per person. We're, I think, at $5,750. Does that sound right? And that put them not at the top, not at the bottom, kind of right in the middle. So we're not the lowest anymore. We're sending some people through the paramedic training, but to address some of that overtime, we've approved is we're going to try it. We're doing a 2-year contract instead of 3 because I want to see some data. I'm trying to track the overtime that's related to special events versus just a regular day. We don't have enough dudes, you know. But to address some of that, trying something new. I don't know their titles, but Baxley and Sutrick.
The battalion chiefs.
Yeah. So they are going to be eligible for a stipend as opposed to overtime, and it'll save $200 to $600 per shift, allowing those two to pick up a shift.
Okay.
Idea, not ideal, but I am concerned about the burnout and the overtime budget. It's a bit, but again, some of that overtime is justified because we're doing all these extra cool events, the bow legs and all that other stuff. So at the end of this 2 years, I'll have a much better understanding of the data that'll support what we need to do and kind of go from there. But that'll offset both. We should be able to keep staff, the ones that are bailing for the $5 or whatever, because we're right there now, in addition to these 2 extra people being eligible to take some of that burden off.
All right, I like that with the stipend. And yeah, just to me, after looking at it, to find out that we're overworking and not saving any money by not stepping up to give the staff, it might, to me, it's very likely that we might be better off meeting that market average and hiring enough people so we're not as much into overtime.
We gave them 2 flavors to choose from. One kind of helped the middle of the road crew. The other one helped the people at the end of their career, so it incentivizes people to stay. So that's the flavor they went with.
Then with the increase of, if you can continue with the paramedics in school being proactive instead of reactive, that's what happened. You were reactive. So we didn't encourage people to continue to go, and this is what happened. So
It seems like you guys are on it.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, not knowing anybody in the department, they were really easy to work with. Chief Shipman kind of stepped in very last minute, and so yeah, it's been quality.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Riley?
I don't really have any questions, but other than you initially said you're at 9, right? 9 employees. Normally you're
We need 15, we have 9. So
15 is ideal.
Right, you said you're right now you're at 9, but 15 is ideal. So is there an in-between that you're working on? But I mean, it sounds great, what, you know.
Well, the paramedic program is a year, so it's no quick turnaround. So I have 2 guys graduating in August. Hopefully they stay. That'll put me at 11. So now I got a little bit of breathing room, and we're seeing 3 or 4 coming up. So
I think some of the other issue with that, people leaving, is I don't know that we've been firm with, we put you through school, you bailed, you owe us that money back.
Right.
They're going to pay the money back if they bail, so.
That's a good thing. I've seen it when they bail.
Stay done, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Riley. Just real quick as well, when does that new contract take effect?
So it's due to be signed in August. It starts October 1. Does that sound
So
right?
it will start October 1?
Correct.
So that's something that
As soon
Chief
as I have it.
Shipman could certainly explain to those August graduates that, hey, right around the corner, money's coming. Okay. Good job figuring it out.
I've been over there several times, and again, Baxley and Sears, the union reps, they've been really easy to work with. They've had some asks that we had to work through, but no, they've been great. And as soon as I have it in my fat little hands, I'll have it off to you for signature as well.
Perfect, thank you. Councilman Schmidt.
Yes, the growth and the things that we're all excited about with Fort Walton Beach 2.0, do we have the resources with the way we're currently structured?
are you speaking of call volume?
Yeah, as far as just all the impacts of this growth, north end,
Oh, yeah.
volume, resources. Do we have what we need?
So generally speaking, over the last couple of years, we are running a 2-station department with 3 apparatus. We're running close to 6,000 calls a year. And we have some neighboring departments with more apparatus running, just barely more than us. So it's a bit taxing on the guys. I'm not going to come to you guys asking for much yet, but we're going to get a bit more proactive here in the future. Right now, we're okay.
That's that 2-year contract, so we can get that data to see if it justifies hiring more people, hiring different qualified people. I don't know the answer right now, And I think some of that concern is, it seems like a majority of your calls are opioid related or the fentanyl and all that sort of thing. So as we can start moving some of that out of the city, I'm hoping that'll offset some of that, so.
I appreciate that. And a lot of it too was in the scope of, as well as just the new development, the new growth.
Right.
The things that are good economically, just making sure the relationship between our multiple agencies that we have providing fire services is, what my understanding is continues to be amazing and good relationships with.
It's great. Right now, it's
and that's great to hear, because it wasn't always that way, but it's great that we're there.
Right.
So with that being said, it sounds like not the CBA negotiations and all the different things that were brought up, but just making sure whatever that approach is, I know there's always going to be negotiations every year the CBA expires, but we got a lot of growth and just want to make sure we're doing the different things to proactively plan for that growth. I know that's sometimes a big ask financially, and that's going to be tough to do. Sometimes it's continuing to develop a relationship with the neighboring agencies, and run cards and all that stuff. You're way much more of a subject matter expert than I ever will be. But just thank you for, your new tenure, stepping up in this environment as chief and your leadership. Just will continue to plan and prepare for that growth that we're all excited about. I want to make sure everybody's safe.
We have a vote for sale, no, too soon.
Do you guys still run? Do you guys still run? Is it about a 70-30 medical v fire call percentage?
Probably more 80-20.
80-20.
Medicals are hammering us.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Gotcha. And Councilman Jeter, did you have one more?
Yeah, what'd you say earlier about morale? I just wrote a note down there.
It's awesome.
Morale is awesome.
Oh,
Wow.
That's good to hear, because we've been here the last couple of years and we've had some morale questions and issues and gone back and forth. But I'd like to echo what Councilman Merrill said about, let's be smart about increasing that 915. It'd be smarter to get that. I know we're already on that, but just to hear you as the new chief say morale is awesome, that goes a long way.
I think it might be the newness between him and I, but and getting out and speaking to them, I think they really appreciate that too. Let them know what's going on, what we're trying to do to make things a little different, because it was a little stale in the sense of some of just a general talk. We kind of changed our attitude about that, and it's going to be proactive.
You seem like you're going to be a good link between like you said, the coffee pot talk and the rumors, and keep the morale high, because it's
that's important.
That's very good to hear.
Appreciate you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next? It's gotta be Bates, right?
Yeah, it's no, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So this was the strategic planning portion of the night, so to speak. This was the draft that I had sent to council just for consideration, some of those overarching goals. So it's nothing new here, it's all, you've all seen this. But then where I wanted to take a step back, and all the cool stuff you just listened to, these are all the things that I've captured over the last couple meetings, the month that I've been here, that are nowhere in our budget at all. So these are things we need to add in addition, and it's going to tie them back to some of our strategic priorities, whether it's environmental stewardship, transparency. So just to run through some of these, let me get them on my screen so I can not yank my neck up. So the Bridgeway partnership, right? It's something we're working on. It's a public safety. I'm totally guessing here. It's probably going to cost us about $3 million to buy a site potentially, relocate them potentially, remodel this site potentially, and so on and so forth. But I think long term, that's going to be an ROI for the city forever, right? So it's something we need to navigate. But whether we use the CBDGs or the CRAs or whatever that money comes from, it needs to be captured somewhere. So that's kind of on the radar. City Hall, we've all been talking about it since, apparently long before I started, but since I've got here, it is not captured in our budget anywhere, going back to God knows how long. But there's your community vitality, and that's going to be a $15 million project at a minimum, because just ballpark square footage, and it's probably an architectural firm services just for design. But we're going to have to bond it, and then anything that comes off you know, any recurring money that we have going out, I'd like to start putting towards that. We've talked about parking garage. The last one I built was like 20 million. I've been trying to like plant seeds with potentially a public-private partnership where maybe a hotel comes in and builds a nice hotel or a condo or whatever, you know, some stores and a garage added onto it, and we have the land and we just get kickbacks on something. But again, it's another 20 million that we're gonna either have to bond or work through that public-private partnership. The around the mound, you know, the robust infrastructure, back to tying it back, it's 2 million for design. I think we're gonna basically cough up 1.8 unless there's a change in the county. I'm still waiting on that letter saying what they're going to give us, and when we had the physical meeting, it was the 675 was what was promised. So I don't have it yet, but as soon as I do, kick that out. I mean, I see, you know, I avoid the Facebook nonsense. I have no patience for it, but people bring me the comments and, you know, the circus crowd saying, hey, they're hiding money or money, you know, show game and whatever. So I would like to bring in an external auditor, and whether they're from Jacksonville or Miami or another fringe state, I don't care. But they can say where our gaps are and where we're misfiring. You know, we touch it every day, so maybe it's worth throwing some money at. So we have a document from a third party that doesn't give, you know, they have zero investment in the city outside of this is where your gaps are, and then we can go work backwards from there. The software upgrade, I think that's kind of been captured. I'm used to just a way more robust platform, but it was $1 million a year just in recurring fees on my software, but that's what we use to drive our business, right? I don't know what you have here. It's like 183 years old. What's the green scheme thing? So there was a request for using the well at the cemetery, and the comment was the well's awesome. I don't know why we avoided it, but you know, I spoke with some staff and it's not. So we're going to look at potentially a reclaimed. I hate using potable water to irrigate grass, but I don't know if we have another option in that area. So that just ties back to the environmental stewardship, right? There was a request for bike racks throughout the community, and it's low-hanging fruit. It's an easy project, but again, it's another probably 50,000. Just I don't even know how many we need. So that was a ballpark. What you do? EMS wood fences, you know, so I was at Preston Hood, and the wood fences, they just look terrible. Apparently, the city, many moons ago, made a pact with those residential owners that, you know, will install this wood fence, will maintain it for the rest of their lives, and that sort of thing. So, substantial cost, right, to do that forever and ever and ever. And, you know, chain link just lasts longer, so I don't know. Outside of looking back at somebody's yard, I guess there was a beautification aspect to it, but at the same time, it's substantially more expensive and forever. Pickleball pavers, turf solutions, so we talked about that a little bit, you know, community vitality and some of the other projects there. The bridges, so we're going to present 2 flavors on the bridges. The golf carts are tearing up the bridges now, so we're either going to narrow them and put a bollard so they can't drive the golf carts across them, or put in a substantially more beefy bridge, if you will, to support that kind of traffic. And the pedestrian bridges that were installed by the Frisbee golf people, you know, that to me is a liability, so we're going to look at that. A couple other things. I spoke with the guy that does the pickleball. I can't remember his name, but we're going to look at some of the reservation systems that they use for the pickleball courts. It's not captured in our budget anywhere, so these are other things that I understand it's a priority, got to be captured. So whether we do it this year or next year, at least I'll have a ballpark understanding of 1, how to do it, 2, what it's going to cost. Some of the CRA stuff, there's been, I think Mr. Jeter brought up, you know, the new bridge coming in, potentially there should be a park underneath or whatever. Again, not in that scope, so there's money that we have to put towards that, whether it's CRA money, and the same thing for the sidewalk, the loop of, you know, so you can ride your bike over the bridge, whatever. More money, and then some, I say, Garnier Park improvement, all money we gotta get. So these were kind of, that's really the end of the discussion there. So these are things that we need to either add to our budget, and then Nicole and I can start playing with the numbers over the next few weeks to build it out. So a lot to digest, and just from what the department heads brought you, in addition to the things that have been folklore, now we gotta get them on paper.
All right, so let's go down to just some final comments as well before we head out. Mr. Browning, we'll start with you.
No.
All right, Mr. Berry.
Before we leave, we need to add, this is all those committees that we appointed people to go to. Where's the alternates? I was at that, I happened to be at the Shalimar, getting ready to go swim, not looking real pretty. And they didn't have a quorum for the Okaloosa, Walton Okaloosa Santa Rosa Regional Utility Authority. So I went up on the dais looking cute.
Sure, you did great.
But what I'm asking.
I understand what you're saying.
What I'm asking is.
I would say that could be certainly solved just by emailing Ms. Barnes and just saying, hey, can I have a list of these alternates of committees that I serve on so that I'm aware? If I'm not going to be able to be there, maybe I can reach out to that person.
Well, what I'd like to ask is for you to send that, like that paperwork that I got from you, of all the people that are on the committees and all that, email to the council, because I can't talk to them other than right here, so that they can get some feedback if they'd like to be an alternate on some of these committees.
Okay, there's only two that we have alternates for right now.
Yeah, I know.
We have a need for those two. It's the one that you just mentioned, and then the library. So.
But how about the TPO, the TDC,
They don't have alternates.
We have not been appointing alternates to those committees for years. So if it's something that y'all want to do, we will be happy to do it.
Come back with
It hasn't been years. It's been before then.
So what y'all need to do is come back at the next council meeting, and y'all can go and direct staff to have that on the agenda for the next meeting, but to go ahead and appoint alternates for all the boards that don't have an alternate. That's what y'all want to do.
Thank you.
If that board will allow it.
If that's also what the board chooses to do.
Correct.
That specific board.
I meant this specific board, if this board chose to do that for whatever reason, they were maybe just. Anyway, any final comments, Mr. Berry, though, on the budget discussion we've just had here tonight?
No, I think it was really good. I appreciate all of you for all the hard work and the suggestions, and keep them coming. I mean, like with I was going to ask you, Mr. Hill, do the city residents pay a nice fee, and then we charge the heck out of the non-residents for golfing?
Do I need to go there?
Yeah.
So city residents do get a discounted membership to the club.
Good. You can increase the other side too.
There you go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
That would do.
you know, since we're the lowest paying, and we're municipal, and all the people that come down here, all those northern people and the county people and all that.
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jeter.
Glad you were able to make it to the board meeting. I'm sure you look good regardless of how you
I was just gorgeous.
I'm sure you did. And like Councilmember Schmidt said, I'm sure you represented us very well too.
Oh, I did.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, I love it. You are in tune for what short time you've been here. You are in tune. You are aware. You are listening. I know some of these things me and you've discussed. I'm sure some of these other things you've discussed with other people. I love your attention to detail, how you bring it back and say, look, yeah, it's all of it. Where are we getting the money from? We need to start budgeting for it now. So, I think you've done them in a pretty good order regardless of cost, but City Hall, this, and there's some stuff up there that we've really got to start paying attention to, and I like the way that you're doing it in a manner of, I don't want to pass the buck on to the next person, and I don't want to pass the buck on to the next board. Like, when are we going to start paying attention to these now and budgeting for them? So I know that's not what we're necessarily doing tonight, and we'll continue to get into that, but I just appreciate the way that you are doing things, and I look forward to seeing a lot of great things accomplished with this new I'll say new way, better way, whatever way you want to call it, your way, but it's working. Keep doing it.
So, good feedback, directors brought all this stuff, so credit to them. There was mention of why we keep spending money on this building. Daniel had money budgeted for the roof, and we talked about, let's just take that out and put it towards the campus. We'll use the reserves to come back if we have a roof out. So we might have to start touching the reserves this year too, but you're very healthy there. You're 32%? 33? It's a strategy, but it's there.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, just all the departments. Some of us are new. I'm going on 4 months, so I appreciate from the city attorney to many of you that have met with me, that have helped me through all this. So to do all this work and all this information, we get to sit up here and decide like we're so important. It's you guys doing the work, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. You guys have been helping me catch up and learn. Give no special, but give our new city manager a special shout out. I'm a business under the Brooks Bridge. I brought it up, and was getting 15 calls a day, 20 calls a day, literally because they had that road closed sign. And he walked down there just to find a solution. And I said, can we put our business names on it? And he got him to agree that day to take it down, put business district. And you said the IT department here was calling Google Maps, somebody here.
Yeah.
And the next day Google Maps ran to our business like it was supposed to. And 0 calls.
Yeah.
0 calls, like day after day. So everybody who took part in that, you guys, for all the help, for all the work you do, man, thank you so much. I'll continue to try to keep up.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Riley.
All I can say is teamwork make the dream work. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Schmidt.
Yes, thanks for kicking this budget process off with this presentation. It was good to see this format. And we'll continue to square up in our recurring meetings on the different items and things like that. A lot of things we've presented us today. But I do want to highlight that around the mound, continuing to advocate for that, because this is a lot of that red tape, bureaucratic stuff that Mr. Payne was talking about earlier on in the presentation that we got to go through, that we got to keep funding and keep the attention on it for a lot of reasons. One of them, mission readiness. That's a huge economic impact to our community. The politics and things that different people play. At the federal level, I don't want it to impact us because of our traffic management concerns. So continue to highlight that with this, guys, so that hopefully this next budget year, that will stick, and continuing to try to get some of that support from the county like we had that conversation too. The campaign as far as, being the cleanest city and those kind of things, we talked a lot about the Fort Walton Beach 2.0, but from a strategic planning process, I just want to thank you and highlight this structure and this attention to the strategic plan, right? Everything needs to point back to the strategic goal, strategic plan. And to be a clean city, we had conversations about the design compared to what reality is at our last CRA meeting and those type of things. We also see every single day the different blight. And we're in a season right now where the transition is happening, not only just through this budget, but through different personnel that's here to have boots on the ground and really make that shift. I got a chance to see it in action and see it in person, just leaving the farmer's market last Saturday. And it was unplanned, and leaving to go grab a cup of coffee after the farmer's market and run into Mr. Davis. And again, none of this ever planned or scheduled, so him and I are walking together, and we addressed the first vagrant. Okay, the vagrant was laying down in the middle of right in front of the farmer's market, right? At the epicenter of what we're trying to do, we're funding the landing. Thank y'all for the support and getting that $1 million and all that to keep it going. We're having an around the mound conversation, vibrancy, but to be able to see the encounter having a CEO, boots on the ground, that's not only fully trained, but fully aware of what we're trying to do here as a board. We're trying to make it a place that we can raise our kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, and something that we want to be very proud of. But none of that happens unless if there's real effort. And it was really encouraging to see the first exhibit where that gentleman got up and he was tweaking. He was tweaking, and he got out. But on our way back from kind of seeing where this guy was walking off to, we came across another exhibit. This guy was just really looking for a shower. Came here to get some work, that he was told there was work, and when he got here, no one answered the phone. That was a story he was telling us, at least. And this guy worked with public safety and worked with, hopefully Major Stalls soon, but I think it's Lieutenant Stalls currently. But seeing the team work with someone that is trying to better themselves, and our team provided some accommodations to get them right and hopefully find them some work, right? Why am I pontificating on this? That's the educational piece that many people, whether it's Candace Tanner and others, are continuing to advocate, that education piece between a vagrant and a homeless. And doing these things, whether it's like the Bridgeway Partnership or like the Around the Mound and like the policies that we're doing through the quality of life ordinances, I just want to continue to support. I was hesitant on bringing up that last presentation because I was really sensitive. I don't want this being about me, but being about highlighting what Mr. Davis did like it was just another day. And in a way that was professional, that when we came across both exhibits, it was a very pleasant thing to see, and I wanted to highlight. So, looking forward to supporting this. We'll continue to negotiate different things and stuff like that I look forward to doing, and we'll keep doing that stuff as well. But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Also want to, just before we go, highlight Ms. Neighbors and her crew, who always do such a great job. I know that, this wasn't your specific meeting, but I know you got to be ready with a lot of different numbers and provide a lot of different departments with a lot of different facts and figures and things of that nature. So do appreciate you and everybody that's in your department as well. Thank you to all the directors who have stayed here for this unusual July meeting that we normally don't have here. And Ms. Barnes and Mr. Davis, thank you for being here as well. We will adjourn.